Hey guys, Simple Glenn here. I'm so happy you're here. I am like so pumped to have you go through the prep portion to set you up for success as you dive into my virtual bootcamp. I am so excited to be doing this right alongside you. And I want you to know that this video, what's contained in this video, is truly probably like one of the most important parts of prep. Okay. This is also the part where a lot of people get hung up, where they go, oh my goodness, this is work. And is it worth it? Like truly, people start questioning themselves when they get to the meal planning and prepping portion. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I'm going to go through a quick little workshop I put together for you to really go through how I meal plan and prep. And I'm hoping you to have some really good takeaways that you can implement in your life to create your routine that works for you while you're meal planning and prepping, and something that you can do consistently, because truly this is going to be a game changer for you. This is the part, you guys, though, that makes people uncomfortable. Normally people are really excited. They're like, I can't wait to set my goals. I know what they are. I can't wait to pick out my program. I'm so excited for my first workout. Like, that stuff's really, really exciting. And then as soon as you're like, hey, let's put together a meal plan, let's do this, it gets confusing, it gets overwhelming, and people truly question, are my goals worth it? And my answer is yes. Yes, they are so worth it, but it's going to be work. It's going to make you a little uncomfortable. There's going to be moments where you're going to be like, I'm not doing this right. And there's going to be moments that you're not going to be perfect at this. I'm not perfect at this. And it's okay. Okay. The point is that you're trying and you're making good, consistent effort to eat better, to eat healthier, to feed your family better. And those little things, they add up really fast. They really genuinely do. I promise you. So we're going to dive right into this. I don't want to make this too long for you. I'm going to be sharing my screen with you. Just give me 1 second here. And we are going to dive into a mini meal planning and prep workshop. Okay, so this is going to be fairly quick. I'm going to give you lots of tips. I'm going to talk fairly fast. So rewatch if you need, but we are going to just dive right into it. Okay, so things that we are going to cover in here is we're going to talk about creating a meal plan by creating your routine. We're going to talk about prepping. We're going to talk about some budget-friendly tips, and we're going to talk about some things that to make it a little bit more hubby and kid approved as a mom of four. That's super important to me, and keeping it healthy. Okay, so let's jump on in. All right, so first things first, let's talk about creating a routine. Now, this is going to probably look different for so many different people, but I'm just telling you what I do, and I want you to take this information and adapt it to what works for you. Now, some people like to create a routine where they truly do their meal planning, their grocery shopping, and their prep all in one day. Some people do this once every 2 weeks. Some people do this once a week. Some people like to go to the grocery store 2 times a week, and so they will do this and plan for just 3 days at a time, and then they'll keep doing that over and over again. I personally like once a week, mostly because I don't like going to the grocery store more than once a week unless I'm like missing something or can just like run in quick, because usually I have 4 kids in tow with me. But I like to break this up over a few days, okay? And it's beneficial for me personally to break it up over a few days because I know myself and my attention span. And if I have to do anything that takes longer than maybe a 30-minute sitting, I start getting annoyed, unless it's something that's like task oriented and really like something I'm doing with my hands or like a specific job or whatever. Like, I know my attention span. I'm like, okay, and we need to move on with ourselves. So first thing I like to do is make a plan, and I typically do this on Friday. So Friday is my planning day. And when you're making a plan, you need to really think about a few different things as you're going into this. So who are you cooking for? Okay. For me, it's myself, husband. I have 4 kiddos. So do you have a toddler? Do you have a baby? Are you cooking for, I don't know, do you take meals to people? Like, who are you going to be cooking for? When? You need to know when you will actually be cooking throughout the week. So you need to mark on your calendar the times that you won't be cooking, or maybe you need to cook extra because somebody's coming over for dinner. Maybe you have a date night, something like that if you're traveling. Mark those things on your calendar so you know when you will actually need to have meals fixed. And then where will you be eating your meals? Are you going to be eating them at home? Will you be eating them at work? Are you going to be out eating at a restaurant? Those are the three big things you really need to ask yourself: who, when, and where. And as you're doing this, you can actually fill it right out onto your meal plan template. Now, this template, you will find this in the prep, so go ahead and print this off. You can also just download it as a PDF to your computer and you can type on it, or you can just print it off and fill it in by hand, whatever works really best for you. So for this, I obviously typed it up for you, but it's pretty easy just for me to handwrite this as well. But one of the nice things about when you type these things up, if you make like a full meal plan, or like you maybe have a week where you're not traveling or you're not out of town, you're mostly at home, you can save them. And you can do this whether it's handwritten or printed, but sometimes it's nice to have it all printed out. So if you're like, hey, I had that really awesome meal plan a month ago, you can just go back and print it, and then you take away all that headache. So what you see here in the pink, all these little lovely things, is that I have plugged in the no cook meals. Okay, these are the meals that I'm not going to be cooking. So Wednesday night at our house is a pizza night. Wednesdays are always crazy for us because my kids have it seems like all the activities fall on Wednesday night, and we literally have like maybe a 30-minute window where we're not doing something, or I'm not taking kids here or there. And so during that 30-minute window, we like to be in town, and I have taken meals into town before, and sometimes it works, but this particular week we planned out a pizza night. So this coming week, we're doing pizza night on Wednesdays before I teach church. And then on Saturday, we're actually going to be out of town. We're going to be in Fargo. So you can see I wrote that in there. And then Sundays, we usually go over to my in-laws for lunch. So those are meals that I don't want to say I don't have control on, but I'm not planning on cooking. Okay. I do have some control, even like when we're in Fargo. If we're at a restaurant and I know what restaurant it is, a tip for when you do go to a restaurant, it's always nice to like look at the menu ahead of time. But honestly, when I go out to eat, I really just try to focus on what's the healthiest option. That's just kind of my goal. I like to look and go, okay, what's going to be best? And that's what I stick with. As soon as I decide that's what the healthiest option is, I close my menu, set it down so I'm not tempted to do all the unhealthy stuff. Okay. So once you have those things, your who, your where, your when, all those things kind of plugged in, you're going to continue your routine by picking your meals. Okay. So this is still Friday. We're still planning. You're now going to pick your meals. And here are some awesome tips for you guys. Less complicated is less stress. Truly, you remember that KISS acronym, the keep it simple, silly? My kids like to say keep it simple, stupid, but I'm like, we're going to say silly instead of stupid. But seriously, that is what you want when you are meal planning. And this goes for seasoned people and newbies, okay? But if you are really new to this, I promise you will really appreciate it if you just keep this as simple as possible. Less is more, and it'll be so less stressful if you just keep it simple. All right, so it is always nice to have a go-to dinner list. Even doing this, 5 years in, I still have moments where I'm like, what am I going to make? And so it's nice to have like a list of dinners that your whole family likes, where you can be like, oh, well, let's just make blah, 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 things that your family enjoys. Have that go-to list. Shakeology is a staple at my house. I drink it. My husband drinks it. My kids drink it. Some people do multivitamins. We do superfood shakes with probiotics. We love this stuff. So Shakeology is simple in the fact that I know that that's a good snack for my kids. We pair it with breakfast often for my little ones. We don't just do Shakeology typically. Yes, it's nutritionally dense enough that it could replace a meal as far as nutritional density, but it's fairly low in calories. So it is designed truly to be a supplement, not necessarily a meal replacement. So it kind of depends on what your goals are and where you're fitting in your calorie brackets. But Shakeology at our house is a supplement, and we all drink it. And then another tip here is for the ultimate portion fix. So this is the container system that you will see going with every single one of our fitness programs. Will break down your meal plans and your brackets into how many containers you should eat. Now, these containers are these simple little color-coded containers to really help you balance out your macronutrients. And it gives you a really good guide on how many of each container you should be eating and what proper portion looks like. So a tip, though, when using these containers is to use the same containers together at each meal. So that means if at lunch you typically eat, a green and a yellow and a red, That's what you should do every day for lunch. Like have those same containers, and it's easier to put those meals together. And part of this came from looking at the an 80-day obsession. There's like the time nutrition, and the time nutrition really keeps this kind of all together. They have you eating specific foods together because your body absorbs the nutrients better. So it's so key. So if you get a moment, and even if you're not doing an 80-day obsession, I would encourage you to look through that so you can get a little better idea of what some good containers are to pair together. But use the same containers for each meal, because if you've ever done the container system before, sometimes it feels like you're putting together a puzzle, but when you keep the exact same things all in the row, like the same way, it makes so much more sense. And if I'm not making sense to you right now, it's okay. We can chat, just reach out, and we can kind of break it down a little bit more. All right. So now that I have my pink things in here of the meals that I'm not going to be making at home or making for myself, I'm going to plug in the rest of my meals, you guys. So this is just kind of everything. You have the workouts on here. Like I said, you will have this template so you can go ahead and plug in your information. But you can see, you guys, I keep it really simple. Okay. Some of these meals, look at my breakfast. It's every other are the exact same thing. Now, typically I like to do Shakeology in the morning, but just right now for this particular week, I'm using my Shakeology just as a snack. And planning on doing that in the afternoon, but it just kind of depends on what my weeks look like. And this particular week, that's how it is set up. Okay, so now that we have our plan in place, let's move on to what we do on a Saturday, or what I do on a Saturday, and that is the grocery shopping, okay? This really, really helps because you already have your plan, right? So now you just need to put together your grocery list. Now, I would say the majority of people that you would talk to that have been meal planning or do different things, or even probably yourself, there's probably like a master grocery list that you pick up every single week. You're like, these are just our go-to items. We always have them. These are staples in your house. Have that master grocery list available, whether it's via a note on your phone or whatever, something that's simple. So like, even if your husband was going shopping, you could just send it with him and, hey, here's the grocery list. But you want to have this master list that's just easy and accessible, so it saves you time, right? So easy, you have it there already. Then all you need to do is look through your meal plan and go, okay, what extras do I need to put on this grocery list? So say there's a particular meal that you've never made before, and you're like, oh, I normally don't have this, and this on hand. Add those to the list, and then you go shopping. That's it. Like, it's super simple in that respect. So then once you're got all your goods, you go home, put them away, do all that stuff. And here's just an example, you guys, of my always list, my list that we get like notoriously every single week: bananas, apples, baby spinach, cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, carrots, celery, sweet potatoes, broccoli, cauliflower, shredded cabbage. Oh my gosh, you guys, shredded cabbage on a taco salad is like the bomb. It's so much better than actual salad. Caesar salad kits. I do know you can probably make a Caesar salad a lot cheaper without a kit, but I love the convenience of them. So I tend to buy those. We do sparkling water. We go through a ton of peanut butter at our house, whole wheat tortilla shells, eggs. We eat so many eggs. And then we also do chicken and ground beef. Like, that is our typical always list. And then you also will get this. You can print off this grocery list if you want. And I personally, when I'm putting together my groceries, I like to group them in the different categories, because I like to be able to be in one area of the grocery store, be able to get all of those things without going, oh, like, have you ever been in the grocery store and like you meander from one section to the next, and then you're like, oh, I forgot this. And so it's nice to have it all written down and broken down into the different sections as you go through the grocery store. And if I was just like even making out a list, I would actually do it as how I would walk through the store. It just makes it easier for me. Okay, so now that we have done our planning, we've done our shopping, now we're going to prep. Now, this is something I like to save for Sundays. And this is just part of creating that routine, you guys, and changing your mindset into that you can still have a Sunday fun day, but you can also dedicate 1 to 2 hours to prep. And if you take that time, that 1 to 2 hours, I promise you will be so much more sane during the week. You will actually have a lot more time on your hands during the week, and you make your kitchen a mess once versus making it a mess 3 times every day throughout the week. Like, it saves so much headache. And this, especially for mornings, if you can prep your breakfast, that is super, super key. And especially if you have little kids, it's really nice just to be able to either warm something up or have it already ready for them. It's just seriously, like, it's been just a total like mind blown time saver helped us so much in our household. Okay, so when you are doing prep, you're first going to decide what can you make 100% in advance. So look through your breakfasts, lunch, your snacks, all of those things. Anything that you can actually make all the way through, go ahead and do that on a Sunday. And then prep those dinner ingredients. If you're like, oh, I don't really want to prep all my dinners, I want to make those things fresh, prep the actual ingredient items. So that means chop up your veggies. If you have chicken that you're like, oh, we're making fajitas or whatever, you can dice up that chicken, and you don't necessarily have to cook it right away if you don't want to do that, but you can have it already diced up for you. And then if you do want to cook your meats, do that. It will save you time if you just want to warm it up later. All right, so here is my meal plan, and you can see I have some little color coded boxes here, and I'm going to explain those here in just a second. But you can see right on here, you guys, like I can prep my scrambled eggs. I could prep those and I can put those into containers, and I could also cook the spinach, have those in containers. I can make up all my oatmeal in one sitting. And there's so many other things. The lunches, I could cut up the chicken, I can roast the veggies. Dinners, I could make that beanless chili if I want to do that right away. And I love it when like winter hits, you guys, and I can make up big batches of like chili and soups and different things like that. It is so convenient just to be able to warm that up. It's so easy. So easy. And then if you have snacks, if you have little snack baggies, you can definitely pre-portion out some snacks, cut up those veggies, do those different things along those lines. So, okay, let's explain these little color-coded boxes to you. So I like to meal prep on Sunday. So I just want you to focus on this last column here. And I hope you can see my cursor. I guess I didn't test this, but hopefully you can see my cursor. So you can see here on the top, the orange box. These ones have the little double rings. So you can see the double rings means that I prepped a big batch, and then the single rings is where I use them throughout the week. So on a Sunday, so let's pretend that this is the Sunday before this week, okay? So on Sunday, I would have made the scrambled eggs and spinach. I don't necessarily would make the toast. Toast takes like a minute or so, but I would have made a big batch of eggs and the spinach, okay? And then I can use this on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I would put it out into my containers and it would be ready for the week. Same with on the Sunday, I like to roast up a big batch of veggies. So your sweet potatoes, squash, you can roast up cauliflower, broccoli, all those things. You can put them on one big pan and have a huge thing roasted, ready to go. So then you're just a matter of warming up those veggies throughout the week. So on Sunday, when I would make supper, I would make a big batch of veggies, and then I can use it for lunches a couple of those days of the week. And this also goes into dinner Monday night. If I was making the chicken burrito bowl, you can see that I made that big portion and then I used it for lunch for myself throughout the week. So this is kind of how you simplify things. This is how you make it easier. No different than like the oatmeal. I would have made the oatmeal one giant batch and then had leftovers throughout the week. So really the times that I'm cooking are 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And that's covering 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's covering 14 meals, you guys. Like that's crazy, right? So I cooked 4 times, but it's covering 14 meals. And then the other ones I would be obviously making are these ones that don't have the box around here, these suppers. And then Shakeology takes like a minute to put together. So that doesn't really even count, I think, as cooking. So you guys, I'm really only cooking 7 times this week, but that's covering like 17 different meals outside of the ones obviously that I'm not cooking where I'm gone or whatnot. So that's huge. And it's such a time saver. So I'm hoping this all makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, just reach out. I'm happy to kind of walk you through it or help you put together your own meal plan. Okay. So here are some of my favorite tools that I like to use. Bento boxes are awesome for prep. You can keep your ingredients separated out. You can prep them. So maybe you're cooking them all together. So you want to have them all separated out and then you cook them into like a frying pan. That's awesome. Or maybe you've already have them cooked and then you put them in. Even things, you guys, that like are all stir fried together. A lot of times it's more appetizing to still have them separated out. And then when you go to warm them up, it's nice to warm them up and then mix them in. Then they look better. I feel like they taste a little better. Veggie choppers, food choppers, glass containers are awesome, you guys. Spiralizer is awesome. A little note on the glass containers though. One of the reasons I love glass containers is that you can put things in them and then it's easy to warm up, right? Like you can obviously put a glass container in the microwave. Not that you can put like plastic in there, but you can also put it in the oven. And this is a tip that my husband taught me because he like despises like warmed meat from like a microwave or something. He's like, that's so gross. Or really anything. He's like, it gets soggy, it gets like rubbery. He does not like that at all. So we typically will use our oven to actually reheat things. We set it to like 250, 300, and then just put the glass container in for, I don't know, 10 minutes. And usually whatever it is that you're cooking or warming up, I should say, it tastes like it was freshly cooked. Like it's crazy how well it works. So there is a little tip there. And then Instapots. Oh my gosh, you guys, like if you don't have an Instapot, go and get one. Ask for one for Christmas or your birthday or whatever. Like they are amazing and they will save you so much time. I can put 6 chicken breasts frozen, like literally frozen, you guys. And I'm the worst at pulling meat out. Like I used to joke that like I didn't cook anything because I would forget to defrost stuff. You just don't have to defrost stuff with an Instapot. You can just throw it all in there frozen and it will cook. So I could throw 6 chicken breasts, big chicken breasts frozen in there and set it for 15 minutes. You guys, it will come out perfect, like perfect. You can shred it up and that creates a lot of meat that you can use throughout the week on salads, on wraps, whatever you're wanting to do. And then Ziplocs and reusable bags are really nice too. Okay. So now that we've covered a little bit of that, let's dive into some tips here. So these are budget friendly tips, you guys. First one, pick seasonal products, okay? Make sure you are picking, especially the produce, your veggies and your fruits should be seasonal. You do not need to spend $4 a pound on grapes. Like every time I see that, I'm like, what? And I get it because that's like the marginal markup because obviously it's a seasonal item, but you don't have to buy those things, okay? Make sure you're buying the things that are in season or get the things that don't go out of season. Apples, bananas, like those are typical things that we eat at our house. You don't have to get super, super fancy. And obviously sale items, you know, if those seasonal things are on sale, that's a great time to like buy them up. Use what's on hand. Know what is on hand would be a good way to put this too. Don't go to the grocery store without looking at your freezer and your fridge and your pantry beforehand. Use up those items, you guys. Don't feel like you need to store. And if you have leftovers, plan those into your meal plans. Seriously, like put in, we're having leftovers this particular night and eat up those leftovers. Don't just keep shoving the things to the back of the fridge because I know how quickly that adds up. And all of a sudden you're like, I have to clean my fridge. And you take out like 2 garbage bags of waste. We don't want you to do that. Don't make 3 meals. Okay. Like truly adapt your meals to your family. So if so-and-so in your family doesn't like X, Y, or Z, that's okay. Adapt meals to the whole family. So for example, if I was like roasting up my veggies and whatnot, one of my kids really dislikes Brussels sprouts and the other ones are okay with them. So I usually have them like eat their Brussels sprouts. Like everybody usually gets at least one on their plate, but I know my one child that really, really dislikes them. He loves sweet potatoes. So I'll put more sweet potatoes on specifically for him. So don't make 3 meals. Just make sure you can like adapt your meals to your family. And then leftovers. I've already kind of mentioned leftovers. Leftovers are amazing, but this kind of goes right into the next tip of recreate. Recreate your leftovers, you guys. For example, I have right on here, if you have leftover chicken and some extra veggies, you can easily make that into a soup. And it just gives your leftovers new life and it makes you feel like you're not eating leftovers. Like it's crazy. Buy in bulk. Costco is your friend. Cook in bulk. Those are also just like, it's so nice to be able to cook in bulk and you can truly freeze a lot of things. It just keeps your sanity, I would say. Like it's really nice to be able to, like if you're making a giant thing of let's say chicken wild rice soup is one of the best soups to I think freeze. So make a giant batch of it and then put it in, I don't know, I use ice cream buckets, but put it in ice cream buckets and freeze it. And then when you're ready to to eat it the next time, you can just take it out, put it in a pot, let it defrost and warm up. It's so simple. And then don't fear frozen foods, you guys. I think this is probably one of my best budget tips is if you have the option between can or frozen, like go with frozen. Frozen peas are an awesome option, but you can have frozen cauliflower, frozen broccoli. You guys can cook those directly from frozen. Do not feel like you need to like warm them up or let them defrost. I will take a bag of cauliflower, like frozen cauliflower, like the little flowerets or whatever, and throw them onto a pan, drizzle some olive oil, put some salt and pepper over them, and put them into the oven at like 425 for 10 minutes. You guys, like they turn out perfect. It's just like you roasted them, even though they were frozen. Like it's crazy. So very simple. Will save you tons of time. All right. So these next tips are about keeping things kid and husband friendly or getting their approval on this. Okay. Dissect your meals out. Kind of like I said before, with adding specific things. Like if you're like, hey, my husband absolutely loves whatever it is that you're cooking, a certain portion of it. Maybe it's the meat portion. My husband loves protein. So he's always like, his idea of a meal is like, let's just have a steak. But if you know he's probably going to eat more meat, make sure you have a little additional meat for him versus like the kids might eat a little bit more of X, Y, or Z. Dissect those meals out and add in extras where you need it. So you don't feel like you're having to make additional portions for everybody. Really, you're just adding like the little bit more for this particular person or whatever. Allow kids to serve themselves. Serving themselves really does help them eat their foods more, but just definitely make sure you're monitoring. Like, okay, are you eating your greens? My kids kind of cringe a little bit when I'm making like their taco wraps versus if they're making their taco wraps. And honestly, they eat them better if they make them. But I also have to monitor that they're actually getting some greens on there, because if they had their way, it would be like sour cream only, maybe a little meat, but that is about it. So allow your kids to serve them, monitor what they're putting on their plates. And then fruits and veggies. If your kids, if they don't eat and you're like, I don't know what to do, they say they weren't hungry at supper, the option then is fruits and veggies. Like make sure you have fruits and veggies just on hand. So if they say, hey, I'm hungry, and you're like, all right, fine, here's an apple. And then they're like, I'm sorry. If you're not hungry enough to eat an apple, you're not genuinely hungry. So then you can send them back to bed. And that's just kind of how it is at our house, but you can adopt whatever works good for your family. And then include your family in the meal planning process. I mean, ask them what they would like. I tend to not let it be a free-for-all. I have let it be a free-for-all a lot of times. And usually it's like, can we have ice cream and cookies and, all the junk food? So instead I like to give them options like, hey, I was thinking about doing this, this, or this. What would you guys prefer? Give them some options and then let them help with the cooking and the cleanup. And the cleanup. Did I say that? Make sure they're all being clean up. Like that's what you want to do. So those things will really help them feel involved with the whole process. And then this is probably my favorite tip that we use at our house is implementing the 3-bite rule and stick to it. So everything that goes on my kids' plates, they have to take at least 3 bites of before they get to decide if they don't like it. Now there are obviously certain foods that I know my kids do not like. For instance, my 7-year-old has hated chili from the beginning. Like even when he was little, like he would maybe eat a little bit of the meat out, but he's never liked that tomatoey based. So I don't force him to eat chili anymore. I made him try it for a lot of times, but I don't force him to eat chili anymore. So if there's something your kids truly dislike, I don't want to say force them to eat it, obviously, but the 3-bite rule has helped just work wonders, because usually by bite 3, they forget that they disliked it and they decide they like it and just eat it all, or forget that they were even trying to argue with you. Especially if you have one that like is kind of like a wannabe picky eater, but they're really not. I have 2 of those and I'm like, you have to try it. And then almost always they clean their plates. All right. As far as healthy tips, you guys, I am certified in a couple different nutrition programs, the Ultimate Portion Fix, excuse me if I talk, and 2B Mindset. And these are some tips that I've not only learned over the years, but really helped hone in and know that these are best healthy practice tips through being certified in both of these programs. First one is water first. Like truly, you guys, before every meal, you should probably try sitting down and having a glass of water before you start eating. Make sure you are hitting your numbers when it comes to water. You should be drinking at least half of your body weight of water every day. And then let veggies be your main ingredient. Like truly, water first, veggies most is really what you want to keep thinking in your head. And we live in a society where it's protein most, right? Like we're always like, we need more and more protein. You guys, we are not protein deprived. We are veggie deprived. Eat your veggies for real. I promise you, you'll feel so, so much better. And then more of the same. This might sound boring, but if you talk to any person that is on either their health and fitness journey, or maybe they're really consistent in their nutrition, they're probably going to tell you they eat a lot of the same foods. And that might sound boring to you, but if it keeps you consistent and you're happy with it and you're satisfied, it really changes your mindset into realizing that we're not here, we're not living to eat, right? We're eating to live, and you will get so much more. So the other thing you want to do is track it. Like tracking helps so, so much. And this has become key from both of these different programs that I was just mentioning, because you guys, like, if you are eating a particular food and it actually makes you bloated, even if it's a healthy food, you guys, for myself, salmon sets me off like bad. Like I get so super bloated and just feel terrible after I eat salmon. And salmon is considered pretty dang healthy, right? So track what you're eating, especially if you're getting bloated, if you're getting headaches, if you're, having maybe symptoms of like even like urinary tract infections. If your bladder spasming, caffeine is something that actually will make your bladder spasm. And a lot of people, and they'll think that they have a urinary tract infection, and really it was just they had too much caffeine. Like there's so many different things that people don't realize, but until you track it and kind of like go, oh, this is like the cause and effect, obviously it helps so much. Don't buy your temptations. I feel like that's a pretty big obvious one. And then find something that's non-food related to indulge in, particularly in the evening. I think the evenings is probably like the worst time for most people. Usually I can do pretty dang good all day long. But the things that you would consider eating at 8 p.m. are probably not the things that you would have even thought about at 8 a.m. So find a different indulgence, whether it's taking that bath, reading a book, scrolling through your social media, whatever it is. Just find something that's not food related, because so often our society just thinks that indulgences are about sugar and junk food and all the snacks. Like get away from that. Grocery shop online. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how big of a headache it is when you're going into, or maybe you totally get it. Maybe you have 4 kids like I do. It can be such a headache, or even with one. Sometimes it's almost harder shopping with just one kid. But shop online. Like it will save you time, and those temptations aren't there when you don't walk by them, right? Shakeology, that's probably like one of my best like secret sauce tips. It really just helps support everything for me. Consider a nutrition program if you're thinking you need more, and obviously getting support, which is what you're doing right now. So you are already taking advantage of some of these healthy tips. And if you are feeling like you need more, I would really encourage you to consider doing the full nutrition guided program. All you have to do is reach out to me for some guidance. Like I said, I'm certified in the Ultimate Portion Fix and the 2B Mindset. Both of these programs are amazing, and they are truly like, both of them, you will feel like you just did a college course in nutrition. They're better than the college courses I actually took in nutrition as I was getting my nursing degree. Like they're way better. They teach you like so much stuff about emotional eating, about portions, about so many things that you'll like learn as you go through it. And they're truly a full educational program. So I'm going to stop my screen share here. That is the wrap. That is the little mini workshop on meal planning and prepping. I really hope you guys got some good takeaways on how to put together your meal plan. So please do put together your meal plan, post it in our virtual bootcamp, show other people what you're eating. Do this for accountability, you guys. Like accountability is so, so key, because it's really easy to fall off track with these type of things. And this truly, if you can master being consistent with your nutrition, it doesn't have to be perfect, but be consistent with making those improvements. It'll change it all. I promise you it'll change it all, and you will get to your goals so much quicker. So, okay, that's all you have from me. If you have any questions though, do not hesitate to reach out.